talk about my hair. I know this is not that type of channel, but like, that was curled. I spent the night with rollers on, and that's what it looks like now. This is just sad. Yeah. I mean, look at that. Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel where we talk about Jack the Ripper, trying something new. Not sure about that, but yeah. If you're new here, my name is Palmyre. I'm French. I've moved here 6 years ago with my cat Sherlock, who's just asleep over there. I was planning on showing him to you, but then I also value my life, so sorry, no cats. No cat. There's one cat, not cats, as there are multiple cats. There's only one, and he's the bane of my existence. Sorry for those who already know me. You already know that part about me, French, Sherlock. So again, if you're new here, this is a channel where we talk about Jack the Ripper. We try to make it fun, and we also talk about my life in London, as in like how I moved and everything, even though I still haven't done anything about that, but it's a plan. So if you want to know a bit more about me, I love just simple things. Like, one of my favorite things to do is just skateboarding in Central and take loads of pictures. Like, I love London and I love exploring the city. There's always new things I've never seen that just comes up. I also love food. Well, I mean, that's not news if you've watched the previous video. I lived in Paris for 9 years before moving here, and one of my favorite places in Paris is East Side Burgers. Their burgers are amazing. Hot dogs. And their fries are just the best in the world, if not the universe. Not kidding. So also the t-shirt of this video, because I feel like with the collection I have, I can wear a different t-shirt for every video. So the t-shirt of this video is from Ghostbongo. It says, "If I can't choke Jeff Bezos in heaven, then send me straight to hell." A pretty cool t-shirt. So yeah, great t-shirt, love it. One of my fave at the moment. I hate Jeff Bezos, so I hate rich people. Anyway, that's not why we're here. So if you've watched the previous video, we talked about the Jack the Ripper, the case book. I reviewed it, told you what was inside, and told you if it was a good book or not. If you've not watched that video, it will be somewhere there, somewhere on the screen. Somewhere. It will be there, but I don't know where, but it will be there. And we talked about the author just really quickly, briefly, and I said that they were doing a digital tour. And I was so excited, and I was like, yeah, we'll do that for the third video, and I screwed up. I thought, great, I jumped into it. You know, I didn't even try to book. I just saw that there was like bookings every day and the price. And I even told you about the ebook of 195 pages because that's stuff I remember there. I can't remember what I ate yesterday, but I can remember that. I told you everything about the tour, and I didn't try to book. And when I tried to book to do this video, well, there was no virtual tour. I'm sorry. I fucked up. So that's the bad news, and it's not a bad joke like the previous video where I was like, oh, I'm not going to review the book, but I'm going to review the book. No, that's actually what happened. So I tried to email them to know, and the email came back to me, so I had to call them, which is, I hate calling people. And one of my previous job was customer service. I spent my day on the phone, but I hate calling people. So I had to call them, and I called them yesterday, and well, first, they struggled understanding me. My French accent. So I called them and I was like, hey, I saw that you were doing digital tour. And she was like, what are you saying? I was like, you know, digital tour, virtual. And she was like, oh, virtual. So I learned how to say virtual yesterday. Hey! So yeah, they said that they only do private virtual tours at the moment. So it's like basically you have to be a group, book it, and they will do a virtual tour. But they will do more virtual tour for the public soon, so I just need to check the website every once in a while to know when, which is great. So this video is not a tour. I screwed up. This is not also an apology video because I have nothing to apologize. I just messed up. But for now, that was sad. So I decided that I would do like a contextualization. That's a great word for me to say. I will put things into context. That was one of the feedback I got from my previous videos. You know, I just talk about Jack the Ripper, but you don't have any context, so you don't really know. And for people who don't know who Jack the Ripper is or what I'm talking about, it's not great. So it's just going to be like a general video about what Jack the Ripper is if you didn't know what it was, because apparently some people don't know. Even people that have written about him. Yes, Patricia Cornwell, this is for you again! Oh my god, you thought I wouldn't mention her in one video, but no, here she is! Again! So yeah, apparently when she wrote her book about Jack the Ripper, she didn't even know what the Jack the Ripper murders were. She didn't know who he killed, as in prostitutes, because that's what she says. So again, she did great researches if she still like call them prostitutes. Oh my god, Patricia. Anyway, let's just jump into it. It will just be an overview of what the murders are, when they take place, and how many victims there are, just to put things into context so that in the future videos you won't be like, what is she talking about? So let's get into it. The Jack the Ripper murders were a series of murder happening in 1888. We also often refer to it as the Autumn of Terror because the murders took place between August and November, when the last murder, what we think is the last murder, is. And so it was a series of murders, really gruesome, that took place in Whitechapel, so East London, and we never found who the killer is, and that's it. I said that it would be a general video, but like it's a bit too general now. So most of the time, if you hear about Jack the Ripper, you would hear like, oh, it's that guy who killed 5 prostitutes. And that's what she thought too. As in when I say she thought, I say Patricia Cornwell. He was called Jack the Ripper because he would slit the throat of his victim and would cut them open from the groin to the sternum and would pull the inside out. He didn't do that to all of his victims though. Most of the time they were dead before he would do everything else. So there's like different versions of how he would do it. He would like strangle them and then would slit the throat open and then open them and pull everything out. The level of gruesomeness evolved with the time. The first victim would just open a little bit. He didn't pull anything out. Was it interrupted before he could do what he wanted to do? We don't know. The second victim, because he was in a courtyard, he had time to pull things out, even take some organs with him and leave her like that. For Elizabeth tried, he had the time just to cut her throat. That's why he moved on to Catherine Eddowes, where again he slit her throat, cut her open, and then pulled things the same way that he did for Annie Chapman. That's why we think it's the same person, because he really pulled the intestines, put them on a certain way. He removed some organs too. And then for Mary Kelly, he had all the time he wanted because he was inside her house. And it's, like I said in my previous video, if you've seen the picture, he butchered her. So you're quite happy. Quite happy? I mean, yeah, you can say you're quite happy that she was dead when he did that, because like that's horrible. I say 5 because there's 5 canonical victims, like 5 known victims that we really attribute to Jack the Ripper. Even though inside those 5, we're still like not completely sure about who's really been killed by Jack. So in those 5, you've got Marianne Nichols, also called Polly Nichols. She was found around what is now Whitechapel Station. Then you've got Annie Chapman, who was found on Hanbury Street, number 29. You can still see the 29 Hanbury Street, even though now it's a different building. Then you've got the double event with Elizabeth Stride, also called Longleaves, found on Burner Street, which is now Henriquez Street, not far from Commercial Street or Commercial Road. And then you've got Catherine Eddowes, found in Mitre Square. Those 2 were killed on the same night, and we'll get back to that a bit later too, because there's conversation around that. And then you've got Mary Jane Kelly, found in Dorset Street in Middle School. She's the only one who was killed in her home. Some people say that Martha Tabram could be one, if not the first victim, where he tried things on her and then things evolved until the last one, where it was like butchery. Even though it didn't open her, she was stabbed a certain number of times in the stomach area, which could preface. Do you say preface? It could be a training for the other ones. There's also a murder inside the 5 where he didn't cut her. Elizabeth Stride was found just with the throat slit. Just with that. You know, she was dead. She was found just with the throat slit. That's why sometimes we think that maybe either the murderer was cut short and so was planning on doing everything else. But because someone got inside where he was doing it, he was cut short and had to move on to another victim, which is Catherine Eddowes, the night of the double event. Or some people just think that Elizabeth Stride was just killed with her throat slit, but she wasn't one of Jack's victims. It was long assumed that those 5 victims were sex workers, because most of the time in those times, single women and poor women had to do sex work to survive and pay for their lodging. It's been shown now, though, that only 2 of them were actual sex workers, and, you know, I mean, we're not here to judge anyone, you do you, boo. The other 3 were just put in that category because they were single and poor and homeless. It's really sad. Why we still talk about those murders now is because we still haven't found who Jack the Ripper was. There was different suspects and different theories, even one tracing back to the Queen, her surgeon, or even someone in the royal family. There's also theories about Jill the Ripper, woman Jack the Ripper, but that's for another video. We often say of these murders that Jack the Ripper was the first serial killer in history, because before him we can't really trace any series of murders like that. I mean, I feel like that fact has been debunked. I know that I grew up knowing that Jack the Ripper was the first serial killer, but that's probably because of all the story around Jack the Ripper. One of the big things that made it what it is the media. At the time, the media was on the case and they were criticizing the police for not finding out who the murderer was. They would receive loads of letters. Even the one that gave Jack the Ripper his name, there was one letter that was signed Jack the Ripper, and we think now that it was one of the journalists that sent it to the police. That's what made it big. What makes it fascinating is that there's those 5 murders and then it stopped. Then it stopped. It started with either Martha Tabram or Marianne Nichols, and then Mary Jane Kelly, and then it stopped. So we don't really know why it stopped just like that. We don't know if it's because he died, because he moved away, because just did what he needed to do. Mary Jane Kelly was his masterpiece and didn't need to kill anyone else. Some theories says that Jack the Ripper had syphilis from a sex worker and hated them all, that he had to kill them. And then by the end of the series of murders, he was too fragile to continue killing them. That theory comes from the fact that they would all be sex workers. We will never know what was in his mind when he did the murders and why he did them. That's the thing. Every year or every 2 years there's a new book coming up saying, I know who Jack the Ripper is, and they've got their points for some of them. And we still don't know if he had medical knowledge or if he didn't. It's just that there's so many mysteries around those murders and why he chose those women and why he did it and who he is. That's why it's still fascinating. And let's just be honest, those victims had really, really sad lives, and I think that now we're turning the focus from the murders to them, especially with the book The Five that was released a few years ago. And it's about time, because those women need more respect, and we need to talk about them, not just about how they were killed, but who they were and what led them to their murders, because there's more to it than that. The way you died. I feel like it's a bit the same with Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. We know her for how she was killed. At least people know her name. Do they? I don't know. But I feel like we just get stuck with her corpse and how she was killed and how she died, and not who she was. And what we know about who she was is all the promiscuous thing, and the fact that maybe she was a lesbian, maybe she wasn't, maybe she was just a sex worker, or she would sleep her way through the top in Hollywood, you know. So that's the same with those victims in Jack the Ripper. We know them as victim number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the canonical ones. We know their name. I mean, we talk about the name, but like we just talk about them as how they died and not who they were. And that's a good thing that now it's shifting. And I have loads of people that I know that have read the 5 without knowing anything about Jack the Ripper, and I was so happy that their first step into that world was with the victim and not their murders. I think that's it. I think that I've covered quite vaguely Jack the Ripper, and that gives you like a bit of a context to understand what I'm talking about in the other videos. And yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to add for now. I think that if I have anything to add, I will probably re-record. So if there's like parts where I've got different hair or makeup, it's because of that. Because I did the editing of that video and I was like, oh my god, I forgot that. That's pretty important. But I don't think I've missed anything. Did I mention that all the murders were at night? I did not. So yeah, the murders were at night. So yeah, I don't know yet what will be the next video. I don't know if it will be the virtual tour, because I don't know if they will have put dates on. If I start doing the Patricia Cornwell book, because that one I was planning on doing every chapter on that channel, but I don't know if I'll do that. Maybe the next video will just be about why I moved to London, or how I did it, or what happened to me in London. I don't know. But if you want to know, you will have to tune in. Maybe if you've got any suggestion in the comment, you can just leave them. Until next time, take care, enjoy life, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!